Welcome back to Terror by the Bay. I'm David. Okay, I want to look at the Democratic Party here. Specifically, are we starting to see an energy shift within the Democratic Party? In a recent reading I did, I mentioned how Trump had called up Texas, wanting Abbott to redraw the districts to get him another 5 votes out of Texas. One of those would, the redistricting would probably do something where Jasmine Crockett would even be in a district anymore that she represents. That type of thing. And one of the challenges the Republicans are facing is that they've already gerrymandered states to hill and yonder, so it's going to be difficult for them to do it even more so. As one person put it, they've already squeezed the juice out of that fruit. And you can squeeze it harder, but don't expect a lot of juice left out of there. Now, on the other side of the coin, gerrymandering is not nearly as prevalent in states run by Democrats. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying it's not as prevalent or as extreme. And in that video I did, I mentioned that Gavin Newsom has just enough ass in him to follow through on his threats to redistrict California and looking into ways that they can do that. Well, the leadership in Illinois and the governor of New York have also sort of joined in vocally, basically condemning what Trump asked of Greg Abbott, and Greg Abbott complying by calling in a special session in Texas to redraw districts, which is why a lot of Texas state Congress people have fled, so that they can't have a quorum, so that they can't start this redistricting process before August 19th. They may eventually have to cave in and show up, but they're at least trying to prevent this particular one in August from happening. Now, this reading is looking at when you have Governor Newsom and Governor Holcomb basically coming out and saying this, the game, just like Kamala Harris saying the system's broken. And normally the Democrats try to fight fair or fight with honor. But in this case, the messaging that's coming out is we need to fight fire with fire. I don't think any of the Democrats really want to do this. You could just hear Dr. Lena. She doesn't give them many passes, the Democrats in this country, many passes, because they're too worried about what people think and kumbaya and all that stuff. It's also happens to be my brother's biggest complaint with the Democrats over the years, is that they're not fierce enough with their beliefs. The Republicans don't have a problem being fierce with their beliefs. And what it looks like is, at least with some of the bigger leaders of these states, that maybe, just maybe, there could be a personality shift with the Democrats. The understanding that, you know what, you got to take the gloves off, and if they go low, then you got to go low. And if they go low, then you got to punch harder. And if they cry, punch harder still. Because guess what? They're going to whine and complain anyways. The Democrats cheat. If the Democrats don't cheat, the Republicans mock them if they win and claim they cheat if they lose, whether they did or did not. So, you got to play the game by their rules so that you can beat them at the game by their rules, and then you can go change the rules so that they can't do this anymore. Let's look at the Democratic leadership and the energy currently around this. Okay, entertainment purposes only. I was going to say, do I need to ask if there's a new sheriff in town? But I think this card says it all. There is a new crusade, a new sword of truth. With the crown and the wilting laurels, there needs to be a leadership change in the Democratic Party. There just does. Thank you. I realize Nancy Pelosi's not in charge of the House anymore. Thank you, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, for everything you've done over the years. It's time to step down. Now, in this case, Hakeem Jeffries, is he radical enough? But Schumer isn't. But there's got to be young people on a crusade, or young energy, crusader energy, crossed with the strength card. And underneath is the Eight of Wands. The strength card is, the Democrats have their playbook with which they play and they fall back on. And the old guard is in charge. And there's certain things that are sacred cows to them, or sacred lions, that they don't want changed. But if you want change, you're going to have to get rid of the comfortable ways of doing things. You have to do it quickly, and you have to get your message out. And I think in some ways it's the old guard restricts the young lions from fully roaring. That's the problem. No, we don't need to rock the boat. No, we don't need to rock the boat. I'm telling you, you need to rock the boat. In the past, you got the emperor. Again, the old guard in charge. They've been around forever. They know how government works. But the problem is that they've gotten comfortable, and some of them don't want to make the changes. But this is the past. Current situation, the chariot. It's time to move on. It's time to put... we have to stop electing octogenarians, which means that the Democrats have to allow younger people to primary candidates who are incumbents. Otherwise, the incumbents get stale. They get stuck in their way of doing things. You don't have any dynamicism in there. Overarching energy is the Five of Coins. The leadership currently hasn't gotten them where they need to go. Now, that being said, I really do believe that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz won that election. And I really, really get upset when I hear the Democrats tearing each other apart, saying that their messaging was wrong and the campaign was horrible and this, that, and the other thing. No, it wasn't. But if the Democrats don't change, they are going to be left out in the cold again. They will not be in positions of power because they've got to... The game's changed. You got to play by the new rules, and you got to start doing it fast. Lesson to be learned is the Sun card. The Republicans have shown us who they are. They absolutely have shown us who they are. Let's let the Democrats show the Republicans who they truly are, or more to the point, who they truly can be. No more wringing your hands. No more twisting around, wondering if people are going to be upset. You know what? The Republicans aren't holding back. You got to stop holding back. Let your light shine bright. Outcome is the hangman. Then, you know what? And there's different ways to look at things, but it's time to sacrifice. You need to start sacrificing people in leadership positions. The emperor needs to step back. Let the young folks through there. If you don't, you're going to repeat things and get the same result. You've got to change things up. It's time. It's past time. It's long past time, because if you don't, you're going to end up in that situation again. What is the current feeling amongst the senior Democratic leadership that would represent the old guard? What is the energy around them? What are they thinking? What are they doing? What's going on? Floor cards. Just working. It's funny because it's an apprentice card. They're working. They're doing what they do. There's no innovation in this. It's always the same thing they're stamping out. You got the Devil card, the Burden, and the Three of Wands, and the Eight of Cups. They're working, but, there might be talks, just might be talks, that it's time for them to step aside. Just maybe. Knock on wood, hopefulness here. You've got, underneath is the Ten of Wands. Huge burden that they're trying to carry, doing things the normal way. The government's corrupt, they know it, and the system is corrupt, and they know it. Elections are coming up. They can't afford to lose again. And maybe this is just, you need to start looking towards the future. The old guard, that's the whole thing. The old guard, once upon a time, were the new guard. They were the young guard, the new guard in there. And they got in those positions of power 40 years ago. And they had energy, and they were dynamic, and they were trying to get stuff done. But time wears you down. It saps your energy. You learn how to become more efficient, but the thing is you learn the system, and it takes a lot of energy to change the system and shake it up and create new pathways. It's much easier to fall into something comfortable, something it doesn't take nearly as much energy, and as you get older you have less energy, so there's a tendency to just want to get comfortable with what you know. And I think they understand that. It's just, how do you let go? What about the young guard? What's the young guard thinking here? Another 4 cards. 4 of coins. They're concerned that the Democrats are just, they're not reaching out. They're contracting. They're just protecting themselves because of big donors. Big donors are controlling things, and they're holding the party back. They know they need to talk about kitchen table issues. The small donor, the grassroots campaign, as opposed to the big donors. Oh, I wonder if they're worried that they're going to get frozen out of money. That if the big donors don't give the money, they have to rely on grassroots campaigning. So you have to be able to do more with less. But underneath it all, they know what they need to do. That doesn't mean they can't work with big donors, but I think they can work with big donors and small donors. But I don't think the big donors are going to be as excited about them. Just like the old guard, the big donors know what to expect. But there is a divine path that these folks, that the young guard is going through here. They just, basically, it's funding. It's coming down to funding. Funding and values. The young guard know the messages that they need to put out there. The old guard are nervous about losing funding, because funding is everything. But it really isn't everything. It's everything to a point, I guess. You have to have funding. But there are lots of ways to get the message out. I mean, looking at podcasts versus traditional news and advertising. Less and less people are watching television. More and more people are watching podcasts and the internet. Getting on podcasts is a much less expensive way of doing things. You don't need nearly as much money. Ultimately, what happens with the current state of the young guard going out of 2025 and into 2026? Because guess what? We're starting to get into the campaign season for this. We're only 6 months, 7 months into this election year, but the House members run every 2 years, and you're going to have primary elections in the springtime general elections in the fall, which means by the fall of this year, you will have to have gotten your signatures, declared your candidacy, start building up your war chest, and working on your messaging. They've only got a few months to get that going here. So the Young Guard, what's the future of the Young Guard as we go into the end of 2025 and beginning of 2026? Fundraising, getting their fundraising put together. Oh, bye. Cross with the Seven of Swords, election interference. Underneath it all is the High Priestess. I do wonder if information about election interference coming out, maybe that's going to propel the Young Guard. If the election interference stuff comes out, we start finding out more and more about how corrupt the politicians are, that could be the break that these guys need to launch forward with their careers. In the past, you got the Devil card, the corruption that's happened, especially with stolen elections. Current situation, we're talking about the fall. Wheel of Fortune, things are changing, karmically changing. Kitchen table issues, which was center underneath the Young Guard's campaigns. King of Swords, investigations. The reality, the tough decisions that need to be made. And then the Page of Wands, the new youthful announcing of intentions of what they want to do. I think by the fall, we're going to start seeing a lot of stuff coming out about election interference. And that's really going to throw this election into the spin cycle as far as that goes. Because it may be, even if the old guard doesn't want to open up those seats, the electorate, if they find out that a bunch of Congress has been cheating and has been abetting election interference, there's not going to be any trust with anybody in Congress. It's almost like a Logan's Run thing. They're not going to trust anybody over 30. And if that's the case, well, this is the opportunity for a new wave of Congress people to come in and make changes. It might be too early to say yet. Let's see how the next couple of months pan out. But given the way that last spread looked, I would be hopeful. I would be hopeful that there's going to be a fresh young energy coming into the Democratic Party. But we'll see. Thank you very much for watching this video and supporting my channel. I do appreciate it. This reading is for entertainment purposes only, but I hope you found it insightful, and I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.